Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. We're live on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff and Hugh McDonald here with me on the Tuesday. We're delighted to be back. It's just great to see you, Hugh, back. Did you have a wee journey or two in the winter break there?
I did. I went to Qatar for the Arab World Cup, but that was the extent of it. I didn't do anything else. Went to which I really enjoyed. The stadiums in Qatar for the World Cup are absolutely astonishing. They've got very many challenges in Qatar, as we know, with human rights, workers' rights, gay rights, but by goodness, the infrastructure would blow your mind away, Peter.
Yeah, does that make you feel a little bit despondent that everything else is cast aside?
Well, yeah, I think the fact of the matter is that you know, things will be things are being addressed in the background to Qatar. I think one of the good things about Qatar is that the World Cup has proved a catalyst for change. I mean, they're actually addressing things like human rights, gay rights and workers' rights. Would they have done that if the eyes of the world weren't upon them? Who knows? But things are getting better. They're still not as great as Western cultures would want and expect, but it is certainly some place, Peter. There's one stadium there, I'll say to the viewers, you can look it up, Al Bayt, B-A-Y-T. It's like a tent in the desert. It's the most spectacular stadium I've ever been at in my life. Amazing.
Yeah. Thanks to everyone who's joined us on the programme. Don't forget you can subscribe to Peter and Ruffy on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. We'd love for you to join us. There's lots of unique content and lots of good features coming up that I think you will enjoy if you love your football. Hi to Alan Robertson. Lee Shanley's joined us. Hugh Scott. Bob says, Hugh's here. Some common sense today, which doesn't really help us, Ruffy, but nevertheless, thank you very much for that. Hi to Paul Brady and James Skeen as well. Lots of people joining us, and delighted that you could join us here today and talk football. Of course, just before we get into the meat and bones of the 5 matches tonight in the Scottish Premiership and, of course, what happened last night at Celtic Park, I think I speak for everyone on the football show. Our condolences and thoughts and prayers go to Sean Niven's family, because Sean, who was the chairman of Stranraer, has sadly passed away at the age of 52. Ruffy, you would have encountered Sean in your travels. It's an absolute tragedy.
Yeah, we met Sean a few times when we were in that division. A very charming person, you know, always thought very highly of his club, you know, and anybody that came into the ground was always looked after, and that was a really good sign. But as you say, 52 is far too early for anybody to pass away.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we move on to the football that was taking place on the pitch last night at Celtic Park. Well, it was close to 60,000 there, excited about being allowed back into a stadium. The atmosphere was, at times it was bouncing. I'll get to some of the atmosphere in a minute, Hugh, but to the game itself, I think the excitement around the stadium was all about the Japanese players. 2 of them were making their debut on the pitch in the starting 11, Ryo Hatate and also Daisen Maeda. And Daisen Maeda, I think he managed to take 4 minutes just to settle into Scottish football and then scored the goal.
He certainly looks a player, doesn't he? I mean, you know, you don't want to rush to immediate judgments. Sometimes players, everybody will know this, and the viewers will know this. You go to a game and you see somebody and you say, well, he's a player. You know, how it'll work out long term, who knows? But you go to a game and you say, that's quality, you know, and I think it was the way the guy's movement and passing, his vision for the game,
I don't think he's a Kyogo though.
Oh no, he's not. He's I would say, and Kyogo's very clever, but I think he's more considered. I think he's more a ball player. I mean, Kyogo, for example, Kyogo is not a player that wants touches anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, Kyogo will run about all day, and if he gets 5 touches, he'll be quite happy, as long as one of them's in the back of the net. This guy's different.
Yeah, absolutely, and I get the feeling that because he got the goal, obviously that settled him down. But Ange Postecoglou at the end of the match, I think wanted to highlight the fact that he's now an option that means that they can cope, certainly short term, without Kyogo.
Don't get me wrong, I'd much rather Kyogo was available and playing. You know, he's been outstanding, he's been a star, and you know, I'd much rather have him in the team. But you know, the whole idea of sort of recruiting in this January window was we need a stronger squad. I thought, you know, the back end of the first half of the season, we did really well, but we were running on fumes. You know.
Well, they've got options. Giacomakis coming back in as well. But I think the uncertainty of is I don't think with the hamstring problem that he has, they can give a definitive on when he's coming back. I don't think he'll be there for the game against Rangers.
Well, they'll be working hard behind the scenes. I think they thought they were a wee bit closer than what they were expecting him to come on the park. So, they're not going to rush him because he came back the last time. Didn't last very long and he's out longer than now. I think they're going to wait until he's 100%. I don't think they can take a chance of rushing him and then he's out for another 2 months, particularly with the run-in coming and all the games that are coming up as well. So I think he'll have to be 100%.
Yeah, one man I was impressed with at the ground last night was Hatate. He looked a player.
I think Hatate's on a different level than Maeda, to be frank. I think Maeda's what Maeda's got is good industry, good pace, good closing down. He'll search the ball, and he had a good finish last night. And he looks a player, Maeda, no problem at all. Hatate looks another thing altogether. You know, he has got poise, he has got game intelligence, he has got this ability to see a pass and complete a pass and execute a pass. And last night, I mean, there was no downside to him, Peter. I really didn't think so. I mean, obviously the whole Celtic team went down a notch in the second half for a variety of reasons. One of them might be the whole game plan changed from one of aggression to one of a containment.
Yeah.
But Hatate looked top quality.
Yeah. Overall, they did enough to win. They got a handball, which again I didn't see it from the press box. I didn't see what the handball was. I had a look at it this morning. Okay, I thought it was slightly harsh on the Hibs left back Doig when Willie Collum. He waited a couple of seconds, Ruffy, and then he pointed to the spot. Juranovic just seems to have 100% confidence when it comes to spot kicks. He dispatched it easily enough. I think the whole game could have been so different had Kevin Nisbet scored the goal. I mean, I'm not that enamoured with him, Ruffy. I think he's gone off the boil. If there was ever a part where he was really on the boil, Tam was raving about him, Tam McManus, but I didn't see it. I don't think he works hard enough. And the goal last night was gaping for him. All he had to do was side foot it. Somehow he hits it with the outside of his boot and hits the opposite post.
Yeah, he'll probably say he didn't think it was going to come to him, so it wasn't 100%. He thought Vickers was going to get in and maybe get a touch, but it did come to him on his left foot, and he just didn't show the conviction that you would want, for somebody. It happened to the Celtic player in the second half, the same ball at the back post. So, but you're right, and he lost possession as well for I think one of the attacks as well. So maybe he's just going through a bad spell. I really hope it's not because of all the transfer stuff.
Yeah.
I really hope his head hasn't been, it's another window that nobody's talking about him. And he thought he was going in the last one. He maybe thought he was going in this one, but other things have taken over. As a new manager coming in, he's bringing people in rather than letting people go. So maybe in the back of his mind, he's just saying, "Well, that's another window. I'm still here."
Yeah, 7 goals in 30 appearances. He wasn't the biggest threat in the Hibs side. Every time Boyle got the ball, Hugh, I thought he looked dangerous. He runs, he's direct, he's aggressive in his running as well. He suddenly puts a little bit of fear in defenders who don't like going back the way when somebody's running at you.
Well, no matter what level of football you're at, from primary school to over 35 league, I mean, pace is a danger, especially, nobody likes to be faced with pace. I think Boyle has really improved his game significantly in the last 2 or 3 years because he's better now at picking the final pass. He's better now in his finishing. He's not perfect by any manner of means either. If he was, let's be frank, he wouldn't be at Hibs.
Yeah.
Because his pace is so good and his movement is so good. He just has to bring up his final pass and his finishing. For what it's worth, I think he's the best player outside Celtic and Rangers in the league.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. The one thing that I do think is good news for Hibs fans is the way Sean Maloney wants the side to play. That's a Hibs side who kept a fair bit of possession in last night's game. The only criticism I have, and you know what managers are like, Ruffy, they love to paint this picture of a game you haven't actually watched. He was quick to praise their mentality and the fact that they wanted to be, a side that tried to keep possession. if anything, I thought they were a little bit, they lacked aggression and bravery in the final third. I don't think he agreed with me on that, but once they got to the final third, there was occasions where they had 3-on-3, and then all of a sudden they go all the way back to their centre half.
Well, you can tell by his interview after the game, he was trying to show a lot of confidence in the team. You know, he wasn't budging, you know, that's the way I'm going to play, and if the players will have to get their head around it, that's the way we are going to play, you know, and everybody says, oh, going to Parkhead sometimes you have to change. No, he's not going to change. You know, he's going to persevere with that kind of formation, and he'll hope he can get some success out of it.
Yeah, I mean, he was happy at the end of the game with the way his side played despite the 2-0 scoreline.
Start with the mentality to go 2-0 down and still try and play the way that we did. Really, really pleased with that. And actually some of our play, really, in the first couple of thirds, thought were very good. I think moving forward we have to try and use that to then create more chances. I think at times really, really good. It was almost that final bit. We had to be more aggressive.
It is only game 3, there's a long way to go, and he'll want to try and just get that team playing the way he wants. If he can hold on to Boyle in this window, he'll be doing well. Now, the only downside to it all, and I might as well mention this because I was sitting in the press area, and I'm sure there are some people who will flood this feed that we have on YouTube, Hugh, but I really don't care. I've got no time for this Green Brigade and this constant singing of IRA songs. Last night, I actually got to the point where I thought, you know, Celtic are a club that have 1,000,001 songs that sing about their team and about previous victories and Champions League exploits, you name it, and individual players. I just think it's a poison. I don't know how Michael Nicholson and that board decide to deal with it, but it's not for Celtic Football Club.
It's been a long running thing to deal with as well, because you can remember, I remember 4 or 5 years ago, it must have been under some initiative at Celtic, it would be an all-inclusive, you know, the club for all and stuff that they were making. Very strong representations to the Green Brigade on it and looking to kill at the end, and very strong statements on it. I think it'll be addressed again by the board, Peter, and Michael Nicholson, but I think at the moment everything is so crazy at the moment, you know, for reorganising games, getting fans checked, getting a transfer window over the line. I just think the priority list and the to-do list at the moment is so huge for Celtic at the moment. But I think it's something that they will address. Whether they'll be successful in it is more and more difficult to see, because the Green Brigade has been allowed a licence there that perhaps I think I think they shouldn't have been given, and I also think they've gave themselves an importance that they don't merit anyway. I'm all for tifos. I'm all for, you know, ultras in the best sense of the word, supporting the team, the noise. But sometimes I'm much more sceptical of the self-importance.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a game of football. We love talking about the teams that you like, but I just think it tarnishes the club's reputation. Don't like to hear it. I've said my piece. Undoubtedly, we'll say it again. You know, it's about Celtic now. There are lots of other areas of what I call the whataboutery brigade elsewhere, but we are trying to address it as much as we possibly can when it rears its ugly head. So it's now to Pittodrie. It's Aberdeen against Rangers. It's game of the 5 that we're going to talk about, Ruffy. You know, more often than not, if I'm being brutally honest with you, it's a game that I think sometimes is built up on hype of yesteryear. Aberdeen for me are no longer, you know, a big club. You know, it's one trophy in 19 years. You know, the League Cup against Inverness. Yeah. It's not great, and all this hype about what's gone before and the wee bit of needle. More often than not, Rangers or Celtic are able to go up there and they very rarely lay a glove on them. I think you go back to 2016, the last time Aberdeen beat Rangers at Pittodrie, and it was a 90th minute free kick from James Maddison.
Yeah, things have changed, there's no doubt. You know, the new manager's trying to get a better quality of player in there, but it is the old saying, you know, why do Aberdeen just turn up when it's Rangers and Celtic, particularly at Pittodrie? But as you just said, there hasn't been the case. So that's what the manager will be trying to get back to. He'll be trying to get back to, you know, like, okay, we know what's in front of us. We have to be better than what they are. I think they're a lot better now than what they were 2 or 3 months ago. I think they will believe that they can do something tomorrow night, but it's up to the players themselves to show belief in themselves.
Yeah, I mean, Pittodrie will be bouncing tonight. I'm really looking forward to watching the game. Dylan McGeouch, speaking ahead of it, reckons that the fans being in there will create a great atmosphere, hopefully replicated by a great game.
They're a great team. Everybody, you can see that they're a good team. They've got strength in the squad as well. So to take anything, you're going to need to be at your best, as a personally and as a team. That you're going to need to be at their best. And I think being in front of the home crowd, I think it'll give us a extra bit of motivation going forward as well.
Now, he's a player I like, Hugh.
Well,
I think he's a footballer. He's a proper footballer. But he hasn't really featured in Aberdeen's lineup. The one thing about Sean Maloney with Hibs last night is they came to play football. They had the opportunity to get into the Celtic half, maybe not as much as he would like. But I think if you're a manager and you're starting to put a team together, you know, hopefully the Dons fans will start to see Stephen Glass's side playing and having a go at teams. That's what you want. But
McGeouch would be central to that. He's a clever player as well. I mean, he was a player that was thought very highly of at Celtic, and the move to Sunderland didn't work out for him because he went to the wrong league. He went to a league which is, let's have him watch Sunderland, and it's the land of the giants. The ball was just booted from one end to another, and the only injuries that the midfield on either side would get with a crick in the neck, you know.
If anybody said to me, Hugh, by the way, I'm going to manage Sunderland or I'm going to play for Sunderland, I'd say, you know, my deepest sympathies with you. It's the end of your career now.
It's become, isn't it? I mean, it's almost like a programme on clubs that have gone the wrong way. See, when you go down there, Peter, it's a Premier League club.
Oh, what a fan base they've got. They're
50,000 watching them play Lincoln City. You know, the footfall outside, Ruffy, this fantastic stadium, the Stadium of Light, everything. Then you go in, you go, what happened here? You know, is this a warm-up game? When's the real team?
Has it been his injuries that have maybe curtailed
him?
him?
Yeah, and I think it was a wrong decision going to Sunderland because he wasn't going to get used there. I think injuries definitely have curtailed him, and sometimes, like everyone else, Peter, young guys don't make the progress. We've all seen guys at 17, 18, 19, 20. Also, I think McGeouch won his first game with Celtic. He scored a worldie, did he not?
Yeah, I think it was against St Mirren.
He's dribbling through, and they just don't make the progress. But he's still a player, and I think Aberdeen tonight. I agree with you that sometimes this is overhyped. But if I was an Aberdeen player tonight, I would say, listen, this season when we were poor, we went to Ibrox and we did all right.
Yeah,
we were lucky at Ibrox. So you know, take that on board. But having said that, Peter, I think the thing about Rangers is that. And it's, I think Rangers have won a watch this season with the managerial change. I really do.
Yeah. I'm going to touch on that point in a minute. The only other thing I was going to touch on with regards to Aberdeen, who are the home side in this game, Ruffy, is I had to raise a smile yesterday listening to Stephen Glass talking about it takes a special type of player to want to come and play, you know, football at that level at Aberdeen. He was obviously peeved that Jamie McGrath's not going to come in a pre-contract or any other deal. I'm not so sure. I think there needs to be more of the calibre or experience or drive and determination and potential of a Scott Brown, you know, to go there and change the mindset at Aberdeen.
Yeah, I think he needs a couple of special signings. He's obviously got the new centre forward to be up with Ramirez, you know, that might make a difference. But I think we all thought because Scott Brown went there, we were going to see a new Ferguson and a new McCrory. Unfortunately, McCrory went back the way to centre half rather than staying in the midfield. So if they could push the two youngins back in there with Scott Brown, I really do think, I think Rangers will win the game tonight, but I think Aberdeen will give them a right good game.
Yeah, just doing a touch on Scott Brown, he didn't quite win the 2021 FIFA Fair Play Award at the ceremony, but I think he was well worthy of a nomination because it puts into perspective what life's about. When Glenn Kamara was really at the forefront of everybody's mind because of the racist abuse that he had suffered, it was a tremendous gesture for the Celtic captain to walk over and just say, look, we're all with you. It was the gesture that I think for normal thinking people who support Celtic and Rangers, it was just a brilliant gesture.
You know him, don't you? Know Scott
Yes.
Brown. Were you surprised he did it?
No, not at all. Not at
Yeah,
all.
was that?
Because
I don't really know.
But you think about players, Hugh. Perception and reality are totally,
That's the point I'm
utterly
trying.
different.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Is that if any, Peter, my dealings with him been limited. You know, your dealings have been. You've interviewed him on stage and been at things. But what I get from him, what I got from people all around him, and I get it's from even Stephen A. Smith, our pal here.
Yeah.
What he's like on the pitch to what he's like off. But the two of them, Brown and Naismith, had this long running clash, and they were exactly the same person.
Yeah.
They were, ferociously competitive off the park, and off the park, very intelligent people with a hinterland, thinking outside the box, things that. And remember as well, when it comes to Scott Brown doing that, Scott Brown has received real abuse as well. So he'd had a more than an inkling. Okay, it's not been racist to Scott Brown, but he'd have a more than an inkling of what it feels like to be abused as well.
Absolutely.
So there'd be an empathy there, Peter.
I would take. If I was looking at the last 10 years, I was thinking of two players I'd taken my five-a-sides. I'd take Nazy and Bruni in a minute, Ruffy, because they're that my type of player. Can play a bit and likes a wee bit of a fight.
Yeah, you're taking a bit of a chance if they're on your side. If you're not moving out that centre circle, you'll be getting dog abuse.
Well, I'd take them anyway. They're absolutely top drawer, and it was a great gesture to Glenn Kamara. No surprise that the Denmark national team and its medical staff won that FIFA Fair Play Award, because that for me was just the ultimate, not only from individuals who sensed what Christian Eriksen was suffering, but they also got together and just formed a wall around their player. I thought the whole thing was just unbelievable.
It was viewing we don't ever want to see again. If you're a neutral and watching that for the outside, and you're imagining not just what the players are going through. His wife was at the game, his kids were at the game, and everything that's going on round about, and even the opposition were in tears. And it's just something you don't want to see at football. Unfortunately, the good thing about it is things have moved on medically now. That what is it? The thing, the defibrillator has been now more available to more sports, and if anything's coming out of this, it's that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Eriksen himself is a wee side issue, Peter. There's rumours about him in the transfer window as well.
I know Brentford and a few European sides and a few Premier League sides are interested. My only concern, Hugh, and it's just because human nature for all of us is to care when you see sporting heroes, is I would be just a little bit nervous watching him play full tilt, because he's such a great player, and you're thinking, in the back of your mind, is there a wee worry?
Yeah, and he would have to be completely convinced before he went back. There's no reason except for competitive desire for it and go back. He's made all his money. It'd be a terrific story if he came back, though.
But that's what sports people are like. Some people think, you're getting paid a fortune, but sports people at any level are there because they love the game. I mean, I'm watching the last few days. The last week I've been watching Andy Murray.
Exactly.
And if he loses a set, they're going, he's got a medal hip. If he wins, he's going, this is remarkable. It's outrageous,
Well,
but they love it.
And he loves it as well. That's only he wants to play tennis. That's all. Andy Murray, and it sounds ridiculous to say, Andy Murray wasn't ever that interested in the money. And before everybody jumps in, I know he made 40 million, probably 10 times that in endorsements. But the reason I can say that is that he would turn down money. In fact, he's turned down Saudi Arabia, £1 million in Saudi Arabia, because of the human rights issues there. But he would also turn around a lot of sponsors, because sponsors demanded time for their sponsorship quite rarely.
Yes.
And he said, no, I don't want to do that. And the whole thing about getting back was just that he loved playing tennis. And the one thing you can see about Murray, if we win, lose or draw, is you can see how much it means to him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Eriksen wants back playing football because of
same
that.
Reasons.
As far as Rangers are concerned, Ruffy, I mean, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, I thought he made a nice observation of the John Souttar deal. He says it's good to keep a Scottish feel and get Scottish players that, obviously are going to enhance the team, but it's good to get Scottish people around the club, players.
Yeah. Yeah, the fans lose their identity. The fans love seeing homebred coming through. James Forrest, at top of my head, coming through the system. We McGregor coming. Fans love that, and like our club in particular, if we can get academy players on the park, it's fantastic. Some of these kids have been there for 12 and all the way through, and if you get away from that and your whole first team is full, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but sometimes you do lose your own identity, what the club's all about.
I can remember you and I watching the under-17 Rangers Celtic game at Firhill, of all places. We were covering it on television, and I can remember thinking, God, it would have been great for Rangers fans to see Billy Gilmour. He was strutting his stuff that night, and I thought all the speculation was he was going to move. Maybe if Rangers financially a couple of years ago could have offered him enough of a deal just to go and develop at Rangers, it would have been great to see how he progressed in Scottish football first before moving down there. No doubt he's a quality player.
That might be the example of what you're talking about. Maybe the players that Rangers had brought in from other countries had sort of curtailed them a bit, and he wouldn't have got a game because of the quality that Rangers were bringing in. To get back to the Hearts Centre, I would be surprised if Rangers don't shell out that 300,000.
Yeah. So
I think it depends if Golson's things went quiet now, but if Golson goes, they need to shell out the 300,000.
Well, of course, but if Borna Barisic, if he goes, that's 30 million, so you take 300,000 off that. I thought it was a good line from him, well done, Borna, a wee bit of tongue-in-cheek. That board would be biting the hand off you and driving you down. This is what he had to say, of course, on the interest around him as a player. You and I are in football, you know how it goes. If somebody comes and says 30 million for Borna, I will not be here. There has been interest in me this month. Yes, as I said, I don't want to get into details now. I just said that there are a lot of rumours. All that matters is that I'm fully professional, like always, and I'm fully focused on Rangers and our next game at Aberdeen. He's a good player, Hugh.
It's a reasonable statement.
Into the box is good too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. The only thing that's going against him is defensively. Anytime you say anything about Rangers defensively, people point out how good the defensive record was domestically, etc., etc. But I think in Europe, he can become a wee bit lax defensively, and I think that's probably because domestically he's not put to that test, and he can allow the right crossing. But that's something that can be tweaked with good coaching. But yeah, like Tavern here on the other side, his delivery into the box is really good. I mean, it's top-notch delivery, and what managers down south will be looking at is, what is good about this player, and saying to yourself, well, see what's not so good. We can work on. We can coach that. He can. I mean, what I've heard is Watford's very strong for him. I mean, I know there's interest from other clubs. We know that Everton, for example, has lost a left back as well. Everton's chaos. So I don't know what's happening there, but I know that the interest from Watford is concrete.
I've got Rangers to win 2-1.
Right.
What about you? What did you go for?
I went for a draw.
Yeah.
But
you're now becoming a bit of a standing joke on this programme. You know that, don't you?
What do you mean, becoming? Becoming's good news for me.
Because they're battering you on this feed. Basically, you've got, I think, 8 weeks without predicting Rangers for a win. And you're at that. But look at the predictor table. Have a look at it. It's not looking good for you, by the way, for the meal out. You're at the bottom.
I'm not really at the bottom.
Well, you jumped. You got 5 points.
I got 5 points last night, so I'll be.
Oh, you might be up at 158.
I'm up at 158, so I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not
you're level with McManus once we
summed up. No, one of the funny things about Rangers, I thought at the beginning of the season and under Gerrard that they were going through a sticky spell, a real sticky spell.
Yeah.
And the results weren't showing that. But I think most Rangers supporters would say, and I think what's happened is that Van Bronckhorst has just come in and he's hit the ground running. He's changed. He has changed the style of the team. He's certainly told players there, what he expects and wants from them, and he will brook no argument. He's a manager with a very good pedigree.
Yeah.
So I think they want to watch that. I think and if somebody put a gun to my head tonight, I think it could be a draw just because Aberdeen played so well at Ibrox. But I wouldn't argue with you for pushing for a Rangers win. I think that's
I'm not pushing for it. It's all about opinion, Hugh. And I like the fact you stick to your opinion. I've got Rangers to win 2-1. What about yourself?
I went 2-1 as well.
For Rangers?
Yes.
I just had to check there, Ruffy. Okay. Dundee United, 7th against 9th. They're taking on St Mirren. And Dundee United, I think, will, with all the fans cheering, unveil Tony Watt. He'll probably start. And the top scorer in the Scottish Premiership with 9 goals. He's got 10 over the course of the season. He's done well, the lad. He's applied himself. He's got the move and the money he was looking for.
Good on him. We're talking about Dylan McGeouch earlier. There's one point I thought shows you much about I know about football in his early Celtic days, coming on as sub and scoring that famous goal against a Spanish team that I can't quite remember, but scoring those goals, you thought this might not be the answer just for Celtic.
Yeah.
He might be the answer for the number 9 for Scotland. He was strong, he was quick, he was an assured finisher.
He still wants to play for Scotland.
Well, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind that. People criticise that. He should want to play for Scotland.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've got to have ambition.
You've got to have ambition, and if he knuckles down and works it, I think Tony would be first to say that the career went off track. Definitely did. But now he's in a good slot. He'll be a team that will play to his strengths as well, because they've pushed the boat out financially for him.
They were in a bit of a free fall pre the break, Hugh.
It's a funny old league though, Peter, isn't it? I mean, I don't think there's, and we say this a lot, I don't think there's much between the teams, and I think good runs can get you into a spot where probably a bit exaggerated to where it's 3 or 4 defeats and most teams are capable. It can plunge you right back into the bottom. You look at that table at the moment, St Johnstone,
abysmal.
Right at the bottom.
We're going to talk about them in a minute, but no wins in 11, 6 draws, 5 points ahead of St Johnstone or St Mirren. And again, you can't buy a win. I don't know what Jim Goodwin's going to have to do. I do like the way they play football, but he's actually looking at it and saying, maybe I have to change it again here, because the way we are expansive at times, we're getting caught out at the back.
Yeah, they are getting caught out at the back. The goalkeeper has been very good this year. But I think St Mirren just a team are just that away from turning their season. And these kind of games, as we spoke about it yesterday, are the games if they pick up points and then they win their home games. But I can't see St Mirren in any relegation. I really can. I think they've got good players in certain positions. I just think they need a wee rub of the green, or maybe he's looking for a couple of signings coming in, something like that. But I don't think they're as bad as some other teams in that league.
I've got United to win 2-0.
I think I sat on the fence.
Yeah, did you? You going for a draw?
No, I didn't. I went Dundee United 2-1.
Right. Have you met Hugh before? Yeah, you know who you are.
Trying to it was yesterday.
Do you want me to tell you? You've got Dundee United 2-1.
Yeah,
okay.
And I went for a draw.
You went for a draw, did you? Okay then. You won't get the same. You won't get the same amount of abuse by going for a draw for Dundee United. So you're fine.
The only person who picked his Rangers team of the season, and there was no Rangers players in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, at the end of the day, it's the joy of punditry, or being a journalist and going to games. You can have you have an opinion on it. Some like it, some don't. That's the joy of it all. And thank you to the countless amount of people who obviously are on our feed. If you are indeed watching the show on a regular basis, why not hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, and you'll get the notifications of our show. Monday to Friday, it's on live at 4. But if you can't watch it at that point, then all you have to do is download the PLZ Soccer app, and that lets you watch it whenever you want. You just hit Football Show, and you'll get all the interviews from managers and players, but you'll also get the Football Show. Just scroll and you can watch it at your leisure. Scottish, English, European, world football. It has all the breaking news stories on the PLZ Soccer app, so it's well worthy of getting it as well. So Hearts against St Johnstone. I wonder what kind of reaction Suter's going to get from the fans.
I would be really sorry if it's a bad reception. I think he's done enough. I know everybody keeps talking about the injury and the club supported them. That club supported him because they knew he was a good player, and they knew eventually we were going to get money for him.
But is it not a wee bit of a two-way street?
No, I don't get. I can see why some supporters might say that, but I would think majority would say no. He's a top-class player, gives us 100% every time he puts the jersey on. This year he's been absolutely exceptional. No, good luck to him. I
was talking to Peter Houston last night, and I mentioned that, I went through at Tynecastle. I'm not kidding you. I mean, he hit five 40-yard diagonals to the boy's toe from the centre of defence. And I just thought, he's looked as if he's kind of muscled up a bit as well. He's a good player. The only thing I think, was getting Peter's opinion on it as well. Well, we're looking and thinking to ourselves, the injuries. You just wonder if 2 or 3 of them consistently that he's had in specific areas.
Exactly.
That's the only worry, but I think Rangers are getting a really good player.
Oh, absolutely, and I think that's a bang-on assessment. The only concern would be, injuries in those areas can be aggravated and can come back. On the fact of the matter is, it's a no-brainer, Suter is there, he'll look after himself.
Yeah. Is there no loyalty in football here?
No, none at all.
Okay. Just checking.
None at all. And I'll tell you why, say John Suter had been there from the age of 8 to the age of 18, and a coach had come in and said to him one day, John, you've been here for 10 years, cheerio. And he said, well, with the loyalty, I've been here for 10 years, no, cheerio. Yeah. And nobody in football would cavil at that, and that happens every single day in football, every single day at every club.
You can't argue with it. Well, listen, Nathaniel Atkinson looks as if he's set for his debut. I know Robbie Nielsen's still on the hunt for a striker to try and bolster that front line. Liam Boyce will hit the bench tonight, but they still need some backup.
Yeah, I think they'll move before the end of the window as well. Obviously, you can't keep relying on one player scoring goals, but they have been impressive before the break. And I said yesterday, the worry for all these teams is they've been away for 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. They don't know what they're going to get when they come back. We've seen it year in, year out. After this window or this break, whatever you call it, there's some teams struggle to get off the ground. I don't think that'll be the problem with Hearts. I think it'll be a problem for St Johnstone.
Yeah, I was just going to say to you, Ruffy, I was looking at the predictions there, and I was going to say to you, I've got Hearts to win 2-0, but I know you and I like to play tennis, but I don't think Callum Davison will have been playing tennis of late, or golf. No. He'll have been sitting in a darkened room thinking, how do I get a side to try and reverse 1 win in 13 games, 10 defeats, 2 draws?
Yeah, and he's been fishing about the transfer window. He's been using his contacts down in England. I think he's seen enough of what he's got, and he knows he needs 5 or 6 players, so he's going to be working overtime until the end of the season.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately for us, he's been at 2 of our games, the last 2 games, so we'll have to wait and see how
they're looking at running, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And I think he's still trying to convince himself that he's a Premier League player.
Okay, well, he better make a move on it quickly. He's got a couple of weeks though. What have you gone for?
I think I went 2-0 Hearts.
Yeah, 2-0 Hearts. Okay. Have they signed them yet? Have they made a move?
Yeah, not the money they're talking about. I think we're holding
out.
Answering
the question. It's like been on it's been maybe Boris Johnson here. Just answer the question, man.
He's nearly been at PLZ soccer longer than he was at Partick Thistle. You'd think there'd be a bit of loyalty.
A bit of loyalty.
There's no loyalty.
No loyalty.
That's why I preempted that question for you.
No loyalty.
I don't make the decisions at Partick Thistle, and I don't sign the cheques.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just do what I'm told.
What are you going for then?
I think I went 2-0 as well.
Okay.
I certainly went for the Hearts win.
Yeah, okay. Dundee against Livingston. Okay, it might not be the most attractive game on the calendar, Ruffy, but the big question is quite simply, will James McPake decide to keep Lee Griffiths? Will he be in the running to keep him as well, because there might be other people involved? And the other disappointment he's had is Jason Cummings. He's let himself down off the park as well. Suddenly these 2 players, again, I can't work it out, but I could rhyme off 8 or 9 players in the last, 15, 20 years that have come through that Hibs academy, and it's almost as if there's something missing from their DNA makeup about becoming an absolute top footballer. Griffiths has it all. But there's something missing.
Gary O'Connor, big, strong centre forward. Derek Ryden, who people say was the best finisher that they've ever seen. I mean, I think Gordon Strachan said that. He was one of the best finishers he'd ever worked with. It's amazing. You know, Tom McManus will tell you as well. I mean, there's famous pictures all about, and you know, there'll be pictures of the Hibs Academy and guys like Stephen Whittaker and Scott Brown will be standing, and there would be a case to say that they were the least talented.
Yeah, absolutely.
And look at the careers they've had.
No, well, there's no wins in 5. They've conceded 10, scored 3. And Griffiths needs to come up with a free kick like he did before the break to get himself a chance. And Livy, you know, if we're talking about Livy, they've got 2 wins in the last 10 games. They've still managed to defy everybody's attitude towards them, Ruffy, because they're in 8th position, and Dundee are looming at the bottom in 11th.
Well, Livingston, every time you see them now, they're all frightened for their lives. They're all just lunging in front of the ball anywhere around about the 18-yard line. They're just blocking everything. They're getting a goal and then trying to see the game out. They've not got many goals in them. I think I went for a draw, but I still expect something for Dundee, because I've looked at a couple of their young players, and obviously with Charlie. But the Lee Griffiths one's another one. This is another one that's he's got to take this in. James McPake's obviously said to him, look, Celtic don't want you. We think you think you're finished.
Yeah.
Go and show everybody. Stay with us. Show them what you can do. And if this doesn't register Lance Chance Saloon,
Yeah.
there is no way back for this boy.
It's screaming out at the moment. Livingston, I've got them down to win this one 1-0.
I've went for Dundee because I think Dundee's got better quality. Well, Dundee have got better quality than Livingston, but they're below them in the league. I know that, but I expect Dundee to improve in the second half of the season. I wouldn't. This would not be a game that I would be betting on tonight. I think all 3 results would be possible, but I think I went for Dundee, Peter.
Yeah, Charlie will be back in the squad.
Not cracking the joke. He's on his
No,
way.
we're not doing any gags now. All we've said to some of the people who clearly have it in for anybody if they've got a connection with Celtic or Rangers, Charlie will be back with us on tomorrow's show, and rightly so. If you've got people who you know you like, admire, and they're part of your team, you stick by them. Teamwork.
But why wouldn't you? I mean, it's like, this kind of. I was talking to them about this.
Well, I say to anybody who hasn't sinned, cast the first stone.
I know, but I mean,
it's a nonsense.
I mean,
you know?
what does life do to you? I mean, if you make a mistake, well, that's you. You're cancelled. You can't do anything. You can't do anything else. I mean, thank God it didn't. I'll say that. And I say this with all sincerity. Thank God it didn't. It wasn't about 30, 40 years ago when I was at my peak, Peter. I'll say that for now. Because I'd be sitting in the park now with a bottle of Mad Dog.
Well, to be honest,
muttering to myself.
Stu, I don't think at my peak, sitting in the middle of George Square with a kebab lying on a bench, I would have stuck by you, by the way. Yeah, Ruffy.
I just hope when he comes tomorrow he accepts the fine for us.
Charlie will be good for him. He's got to be. You're picking him up.
Yes.
Brilliant, Ruffy. What have you got? Did you go for?
I went a draw, I think, 1 each.
All right. Listen, the last game we're going to talk about, we've got a couple of things I want to get in, and I'll read out some of the messages as well. Ross County against Motherwell, 10th against 4th. But I think Ross County have found a wee bit of form, and Malky's starting to bring in contacts from down south. Kane Ramsey has come in from Southampton. I think he was trying to try and rectify the loss of Harry Clark to Hibs. And he's got Declan Drysdale in from Coventry as well.
Yeah, he'll be impressed with his home form. You know, they're giving anybody a game now. But Motherwell were on a reasonable wee bit of form as well. I think they're about 4th or 5th in the league, you know. So I expect Motherwell to put up a good show up there and possibly maybe get a draw, 1 each. Okay,
I've got 5 wins in the last 8. If there's no Tony Watt now at Motherwell, I've got Kevin Van Veen and the other boy that I watched that I like, Kane Woolery, looks the part. So I can't split them though. I've got it as a draw.
I've got another one for Ross County just because I think Malky with Ross County has been working very hard on them going forward. We've got a bit of pace up front as well. Again, a game that any 3 of the possible results would not shock me, but I think I've just nicked it for Ross County to win.
Okay, that's the Scottish Premiership. We will reflect on those games tomorrow on the programme, and you can give us your thoughts if you manage to watch them or you're going to a game. Enjoy the game, support your team in the right way, as we always say. And over and above that, don't forget, I mentioned the fact that we've got lots of good features coming up on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. You can still get the one-to-one with Gordon Strachan. We're going to release it as a podcast as well, because I'd like to thank all the podcast listeners who are downloading in their thousands our podcast on a regular basis, Monday to Friday, and we're going to be bringing in a lot more special guests. In fact, I would go as far as to say we're going to try and bring in more than a few on a Tuesday, Hugh, so we can have a right bit of banter with them and chat about their careers, managers and players.
Strachan one's top class, Peter. I mean, just he's so good to listen to, and he's so provocative in the proper sense. He makes you think. It's a great one for anybody. Get it in the ears, walk around the park, get your 10,000 steps into Gordon Strachan. It's a really good one.
Yeah, well worth it. On a more global scale, Lewandowski finally gets an award that everybody thinks he might be worthy of. Ruffy, he got the FIFA, Player of the Year, best player. And I think at 33 years of age, he must have been looking to himself and thinking, Messi, Ronaldo, am I ever going to get this top award?
Yeah, I think he'd be more than happy that the two of them moved on, and he became the forerunner at country and at club level. Because every time I look at the German league and I look at the Bayern scoreline, I don't even have to click on to see who the goal scorers are, because he's going to be one of them.
Yeah,
Man,
you're a big
phenomenal.
fan.
I'm a big fan, and it's even made more that he plays for Bayern Munich, which is one of my least favourite teams because I'm a Dortmund supporter. But he came from Dortmund to Bayern Munich, and he's proved himself in Bayern Munich as their go-to player. To see really great players, Peter, and we watch this in every level of football, in every country in football, really good players pull their team out the hole,
Yeah.
They may be 1-0 down in Mainz and that, and suddenly it's 2-1, Lewandowski double, one other side. He just does it all the time, and really, that's what really good players do.
Absolutely, and for a man who, just recently broke Gerd Muller's record, you have to look and say some player, because the game has moved on so much. I mean, Muller was a different type of player, as you know. He was a penalty box player, and not very much, not very much outside the penalty box. But Lewandowski links the play, heads it, scores with either foot.
But is it also a penalty box player? I mean, he wouldn't have the sheer physical strength of that Der Bomber had, in holding off players. But he's so good, his movement's so good. And again, with all these top players now, they're not maverick types now, Peter. It's not their mindset. I mean, Lewandowski's all about getting the team over the line, it's all about, and all the great players are, you can see, they're all about winning.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes FIFA leaves me utterly bemused, by the way, because they've picked a World 11. And I like a bit of a conspiracy theory, Ruffy, because we in Scotland thrive on conspiracy theories. That's why we have you on the programme, because we always want to know if there's been a WhatsApp group set up to determine people's fate in the Scottish Premiership. But as far as the World 11 is concerned, I mean, Mo Salah was contending with Lewandowski for World Player of the Year for FIFA. He's not even in the World 11. How can you be in the contender for Player of the Year and they've picked and he's not even in it? They've got Donnarumma in goal. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. Diaz, Bonucci, Alaba, and then they've got a midfield three of Jorginho, De Bruyne and Kante, and they've got four forwards, Messi, Haaland, Lewandowski and Ronaldo, but no Salah.
No. I don't think Messi deserves to be in that just now. I don't think he's hit the heady heights that he used to be at, and I would have put Salah in there instead of him. Ronaldo's still doing it there and then, and he's doing it for country as well. So
he's scoring goals.
Yeah, I would probably put Salah in there instead of Messi.
Yeah. One little bit of sad news before we go, Hugh. Gento, Paco Gento. I mean, as a boy growing up and you hear about great players and you wish you'd been able to see them, but Gento was one of those players that you think of when you think of Di Stefano, and when you think of Puskas. He was mentioned in the same bracket. He was a player, as a legend for Real Madrid, 182 goals, 600 games for Madrid, and played for Spain on 43 occasions. But the thing about him that's unbelievable, 6 European Cups, 12 leagues, 2 Spanish Cups, an Intercontinental Cup, and of course, small World Cup and 2 other cups in his career. Incredible.
And when we talked earlier about pace and how Gento was like a fly machine. If you see highlights of the 1960 European Cup final when he played in the team that beat Eintracht Frankfurt 7-3, there's a moment in the game where he just outdoes a guy for pace and actually outstrips the Real forward. So he's got to wait for the guy. He stands at the ball and he's waiting for everybody to catch up with him so he can go again. That's how fast he was. There's some lovely stories about him as well. He came back to Hampden, to the football museum.
Yeah.
I think it would be the time when the Real Madrid came back to Hampden, Zidane's goal final. And he got shown around and he was amazed and he was very gratified and moved by, the museum was full of Scotsmen of a certain age, Peter, and they bowed to him.
Yeah.
They literally bowed to him, and he was really moved that he could be so remembered in a nation that he only had that one fleeting kind of close encounter with.
Yeah.
And but it was a profound one, and he was delighted. Everybody was coming up, and because people were saying, that's Gento, and there was people queuing up, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely, yeah. Icon.
2 quick points on that. And I've shared this story with you before, Ruffy, but it just signifies what you were talking about with people who know a player of a certain vintage. When I was working first time around at STV and the Champions League final was at Hampden Park, the day after, they shunted me out there with a camera and said, look, interview everybody who's staying at the Hilton. So, into the Hilton with the camera, and as I'm looking about, waiting to see the managers coming, there's an old man sitting in the corner and people are just walking past him. Nobody, out with the real footballing fraternity recognised him. And I had my Champions League match programme, and I just went up and I tapped him, and he looked up at me and he smiled because he was watching people walk by. Little did they know he was one of the greatest players ever to play the game.
Alfredo de Stefano.
No, better. Not better. Same. Ferenc Puskas signed the programme and looked at me and he just smiled as if to say, well done for recognising me. And he signed the programme and I walked away and I thought I felt as high as a kite. It was absolutely sensational.
You would. I mean, that's a guy who scored the hat-trick in a European Cup final.
But just before we go, on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, in the section now we've got the new 21st Century Dream Team. Are you happy with your Scottish side that you picked? Because I remember Ruffy and I did a programme with you and I had to force you to try and pick John Robertson and you argued against it.
And I don't know how. I must have been, it's like that scene where the guy is getting interviewed with Nigel Farage, and Nigel Farage is on LBC and the guy said, I used to believe in the European project. I used to think the EEC was the greatest thing, and then something dramatic happened and I changed my mind. And Farage said, what dramatic thing happened to you? He says, I get kicked in the head by a horse. Now, the only explanation for me not putting John Robertson that day was I must have been up at Ruffy's and get kicked in the head with one of his horses.
John Robertson at Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, he was
European
in
Cups.
I had him wide on one side and Best on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, what a team. Have you seen this team? Yeah, we've got to look at it. The dream teams they've picked. Hughes, well worthy of your consideration. You can catch that on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Listen, we're going to have special guests coming up, managers, players. I hope that you're going to tell your friends, share the stream with them, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, and you'll get the notifications. And don't forget to download the PLZ Soccer app, and you'll get all the latest breaking football stories as well. So with that in mind, thanks to all who've contributed on our feed. Of course, the majority of the people who follow us are 100% football fans. They love their club and they like to follow their club and give us their thoughts on their team. There are a few that might offend you on the feed. We always apologise for it. We try and weed out the nutcases, as they say in the west of Scotland. But we will endeavour to talk about football and hopefully you'll be with us. Charlie Adam will be with us tomorrow alongside Tam McManus and Ruffy, unless Ruffy's car breaks down, and then we're all goosed.
Or Charlie Adams maybe doing Top Gear.
Yeah.
I'll maybe let Charlie drive. Oh no, I can't.
Honestly, see you two. You two are morons. Anyway, thank you for watching us. We'll see you tomorrow.